Open your refrigerator tonight and pull out the tub of cottage cheese you already trust. Don't read the front. Turn it over. The front was written by a marketing team. The back was written by a food engineer and a lawyer, and only one of those panels is telling you the truth. Here's the part almost nobody says out loud. Cottage cheese is having the biggest comeback it's had in 40 years. 16 grams of protein a serving, sold to you as the last simple food left in the aisle. And a huge share of what sits under that word cottage cheese is no longer just milk and cream. It's thin, watered-down milk, stripped of its fat, then rebuilt in a factory with starch, powdered protein, and a blend of gums engineered to feel like cream on your spoon. It is completely legal. It is on almost every shelf. And you're paying up for the impression of richness. You didn't do anything wrong. You bought the health food the internet told you to buy. The tub did exactly what it was built to do. Look honest from the front. By the time we're done, you'll never pick one up the same way again, because you'll be reading the one panel they hoped you would ignore. So before we name a single brand, drop the cottage cheese brand you buy in the comments right now, the one that's in your fridge tonight. By the time we reach number 1, you'll know exactly where it landed. And here's the rule that runs under everything. The front of the tub is the advertisement. The back of the tub is the ingredient list. And the ingredient list cannot lie to you the way the front can. Learn to read 3 lines, and the whole game falls apart. This is not a fear video. Nothing here is going to hurt you tonight. This isn't about eating less or being scared of your own fridge. The crime isn't poison. The crime is that you're paying cream prices for gum. That's the whole story. Fraud, not danger. I'm going to hand you a secret language while we count. 4 words the label uses to hide cheap milk in plain sight. The dressing, maltodextrin, modified food starch, whey protein concentrate. Learn those 4 and you can walk any dairy aisle in America and see straight through the shelf. 6 brands to skip, 3 that still do it the honest way, and the honest winner, I'll warn you now, is one of the cheapest tubs in the store. Let's start at the trick itself, because once you see the mechanism, you can't unsee it in any tub again. Real curd asks for barely anything at all. Milk that's been cultured, a bit of cream, a little salt. The culture sours the milk, the curd knits together, and the cream is what rounds the taste out so it lands smooth instead of sharp and thin. Count them. 3 things. That's the whole formula your grandmother grew up on. So here's the question that cracks the aisle open. How does a 3-line food arrive with 10, 12, 14 lines stamped on the lid? Money, and the logic is boring. Cream costs a lot. A curd set the slow, careful way eats up hours, and hours are exactly what a plant is built to eliminate. So rather than buy cream and buy time, plenty of makers begin with the thinnest milk on the market, skimmed, defatted, half water, and then hire chemistry to fake back everything the cream used to do. Step 1 is starch, tapioca, or the modified kind, packed in to fatten the curd so it reads as hearty in the cup. Step 2 is a gum blend whisked into the surrounding liquid, and the trade has a gentle little nickname for that liquid. They call it the dressing. Lock that phrase in. It's your first secret word. To a dairy technologist, the dressing is the jelly they ladle over discount curd to imitate cream. Gar, xanthan, carrageenan, locust bean, any gum that can seize the loose whey and set it thick and shiny, so watery milk hugs the curd the way cream would do for free. Your tongue can catch it if you know the feel. A slippery, even gel where you ought to find grains sitting loose in clear liquid. And here's the piece hardly anyone gets told. There's a federal rule. The legal recipe the government files under those 2 respectable words. And far from outlawing any of this, it signs off on it. The regulation lets a tub hold stabilizers up to 0.8% of its weight and still stamp cottage cheese across the lid, fully and proudly within the law. The loophole isn't hidden in the fine print. The loophole is the fine print. So when a tub goes from 3 honest ingredients to 14, remember what those extra 11 lines are actually for. They exist to replace the single ingredient the company quietly took out, cream. Now let's read some backs. Number 6, Breakstones. Start here, because it's the gentlest offender on the list, and that is exactly what makes it dangerous. This is a heritage name, founded in 1882. The tub practically smells like your grandmother's kitchen, and that year printed on the front is doing an enormous amount of quiet work on your trust. So turn it over. Right after milk and cream, you'll find tapioca starch. One thickener, high on the list, doing the job cream is supposed to do. On the plain tub, that's close to the whole crime, and the sodium runs high on top of it. That salt isn't there by accident either. When you thin the cream out, you thin the flavor out with it, and salt is the cheapest way to put taste back. So a leaner, cheaper curd almost always leans harder on sodium to seem satisfying. Not the worst back on this shelf. But watch what happens the second you reach for the flavored cups, the little two-compartment ones with the fruit on the side. Now the list stacks up. Modified cornstarch, added sugar, natural flavor, and potassium sorbate to hold it on the shelf for months. Protein drops under 12 grams. That is not the high-protein snack the front promised. That is dessert wearing a health costume, and the 1882 badge is the costume's best feature. Here's the lesson that carries through all 6. A vintage, trusted logo on the front promises you nothing about the panel on the back. The year is marketing. The panel is the truth, which matters even more for number 5, because number 5 is Breakstone's twin, and they're both hiding behind 2 different flags. Number 5, Knudsen. If you shop the West Coast, this is your Breakstones. The same comforting old logo, a heritage story that runs back to 1919, a California creamery, wholesome as a sunrise. And here's what the front will never tell you. Breakstones and Knudsen are 2 faces of the same operation. One year, 1882, sells the East. Another year, 1919, sells the West. And today, both of those all-American heritage brands are owned by Lactalis, a French dairy multinational that bought them in 2021 for over $3 billion. 2 flags, 1 owner, an ocean away from the farm on the label. Now flip the low-fat tub, and the list gets long fast. Modified food starch. That's your second secret word. Cream's understudy, standing in wherever the fat was skimmed out. Then calcium phosphate, xanthan gum, gar gum, and added whey protein concentrate to prop the protein number up. Whey protein concentrate is your third secret word, and it's a good one because it's just protein powder. When a tub shouts a big protein number on the front and lists whey protein concentrate high on the back, that number wasn't built from milk. It was boosted with powder. Real curd doesn't need a supplement to be high in protein. It just is. Add sodium creeping toward 400 milligrams inside a single little half cup, and the cozy logo is running its twin's exact trick, just with more lines to hide behind. 2 heritage tubs down, both leaning on a year instead of an ingredient. Now the list stops pretending to be old-fashioned, because number 4 is sitting in more American carts than any other tub on this shelf. Number 4, great value. Walmart's store brand. And if you just felt a little defensive, good. That's the point. This is the national tub, the default in millions of refrigerators tonight, the one anyone reaches for on a budget. Cheap isn't the crime here. Plenty of honest food is cheap. The crime is what they used to make it cheap. Flip it, and the panel could pass for a scoop of pre-workout powder. Maltodextrin. Jot that one down. It's secret word number 4. Maltodextrin is a milled starch powder, dirt cheap for the maker and worth basically nothing to you. Behind it, gar gum, carrageenan, mono, and diglycerides, locust bean gum, the whole stabilizer stack, closed out with potassium sorbate. Pick up the fat-free tub and it runs longer still. Polysorbate 80 riding along on top. Now the mechanism, because that low price stops being a mystery the second you see it. The sticker could never stretch to real cream, so the gum crew clocks in and does cream's entire shift for a fraction of a cent. You register it the instant your spoon goes down. Not grains resting in their own thin way, but a slick, shiny, half-set paste. That mouthfeel isn't richness, it's the dressing, earning its keep. You didn't score a deal on cottage cheese, you got less of it and more filler, and the same money left your wallet anyway. That's the national tub. Now the list gets sneakier, because number 3 doesn't even keep the same name from one state to the next. Number 3, Country Fresh, and the whole wave of regional value tubs that run the exact same recipe under a dozen friendly local names. One script, a rack of different labels. The base is cultured non-fat milk. The fat already skimmed away, dried down and then reassembled. Maltodextrin, gar gum, carrageenan, mono, and diglycerides, locust bean gum, natural and artificial flavor, and a preservative to shut the whole thing tight. Read the order of it. Once the leading dairy ingredient is fat-free milk and the 6 lines beneath it are fillers and gums, dairy isn't really what you're holding. It's food engineering with a dairy badge on the lid. And this is the one that's genuinely slippery, because these tubs swap names as you cross the map. The Cozy Hometown brand you trust in one state is a different Cozy Hometown brand 2 states away. Identical, slurry, fresh disguise. That's the whole reason the front can't cover you. The name flips at the border. The back panel reads the same in every zip code. We're through the value shelf. Now we climb into the tubs that charge you more and hide more. Starting with the single most rebuilt tub I've read on any shelf in the country. Number 2. Hood. Across the Northeast, this one sits in just about every refrigerator, and it is the most reconstructed tub on this entire list. A single low-fat container can carry whey protein concentrate and modified food starch, 2 of your secret words in one cup, plus 3 separate gums at once, gar, locust bean, and carrageenan. And it isn't finished there. Potassium sorbate and phosphoric acid come along for the ride. The whipped and flavored versions stack on even more. Sit with that count for a second. 3 different gums. When a cup needs 3 separate thickeners just to keep its shape, it's confessing something the front will never print. The milk poured in was too thin to hold up by itself. It has to be braced. The front boasts premium milk. The back translates that to premium gums, and only the back is testifying under oath. This is also where carrageenan earns its reputation, because it's controversial enough that the honest brands, the ones we're about to meet, actually brag on the front about leaving it out. When your competitors advertise the absence of an ingredient you include, that ingredient is telling on you. So that's the busiest label in the store, which leaves one question. What does the worst offender look like? Not the longest ingredient list, but the biggest betrayal. For that, you have to find the tub that wraps the most rebuilt recipe in the most wholesome story ever told. And number 1 wins that by a mile. Number 1, Prairie Farms. And I want to be careful and exact here, because this tub is the whole thesis in a single lid. Prairie Farms is a real farmer-owned cooperative. Over 600 farm families, founded in 1938. And that's not a marketing line. That's true. They win real awards. They've taken home dozens of ribbons at the World Dairy Expo, one of the most serious dairy contests in North America, and those trophies are real too. For once, the wholesome story on the front of the tub is not invented. Farm families, blue ribbons, since 1938. And now flip it over. Because sitting behind that trophy case is a stabilizer blend of 5 separate thickeners: gar gum, mono, and diglycerides, xanthan gum, carrageenan, and carabine gum, plus maltodextrin and potassium sorbate on top. 5 gums and emulsifiers in a product that should need exactly none of them. And each one has a job in the disguise. Xanthan and gar thicken the thin whey into something that coats a spoon. Carrageenan and carabine lock the water in, so it can't weep out and give the game away. The mono and diglycerides keep the fat and water from separating on the shelf. Maltodextrin adds body for pennies. Together, they don't make the food better. They make cheap milk perform the role of cream long enough to get from the factory to your fridge. That is the most crowded back on this list, wearing the most trustworthy front on this list. That is the betrayal, and that's why it's number 1. Not because the co-op is fake, it's genuinely a co-op, but because the most honest-looking story in the aisle is stretched over the most rebuilt tub in the aisle. A real trophy on the front, a chemistry set on the back. The gap between those 2 panels is the widest on the shelf. And once you see how wide that gap can get, a farm cooperative with a lab formula, you have to stop and ask how an entire category ended up here. Because this isn't 6 companies each making a bad choice. It's one system. So pause the countdown for a second. None of this is an accident, and none of it is really about 6 villains. Go back to that federal rule, the standard of identity. The legal definition of the words cottage cheese was written with the loophole built in. It permits stabilizers right inside the definition. It doesn't merely tolerate the dressing. It blesses it, up to 0.8%, and lets the finished tub keep the honest old name. That rule was written for a mid-century world, back when a stabilizer was a small aid to keep a simple product from separating on a long truck ride. It was never meant to license a full factory rebuild of the recipe. But the companies read the rule the way companies always do, not as a limit, but as a permission slip. If the law says a little is allowed, then the whole business model gets to live inside that little word, allowed. Now do the math the front of the tub never shows you. Real cottage cheese is 3 ingredients. The tubs we just read carry 10, 12, 14. Where did the 11 extra lines come from? They didn't get added to make the food better for you. Nobody's health improved because a factory reached for its fourth gum. They got added to replace one expensive thing with several cheap things. Take out the cream, put back starch to fake the body, gums to fake the texture, powdered whey to fake the protein number, and a preservative to buy shelf months. 11 cheap lines standing in for one costly one, and you pay the cream price anyway. Spread that over a tub or two a week, every week, and you're handing over real money, year after year, for the memory of cream. That's not a recipe, that's a substitution. And the savings never reach your cart, they reach the company's margin. The system isn't trying to poison you, it's built for speed and cost. And when you build for speed and cost, the cream is the first thing to go, and the truth is the first thing left off the front. Now, before I show you how to check your own fridge, let me kill one piece of internet advice that has it exactly backwards. You've probably seen the videos. Tilt your cottage cheese, and if watery liquid runs out, they tell you it's gone bad, it's low quality, throw it out. That advice is wrong, and it's wrong in a way that quietly helps the gummed tubs. Thin, clear whey running out fast is a good sign. It means nothing is holding it back. No gums, no gel, just curd sitting in its own natural liquid, exactly the way real cottage cheese has behaved for a century. The tub you should actually worry about is the one where the liquid is thick, slow, and gluey, clinging to the curd in ropes. That's not freshness. That's the dressing doing its job. So ignore the watery means bad test. Watery and clear is honesty. Slow and gluey is engineering. Which brings us to the two tests you can run tonight, in about 10 seconds, no chemistry degree required. Test 1, the tilt. Lay the tub on its side and study what pools out. Whey that slips free thin, clear, and fast means nothing's caged it in. That's the honest one. Whey that crawls out thick and glue-like and hangs in strands means the gums are hard at work. The liquid rats out the label. Test 2, the one that simply cannot lie, is the first 3 test. Turn it over and read only the top 3 lines. The list you're hoping for is cultured milk, cream, salt, full stop. Spot a starch, a maltodextrin, a gum, or any word your mouth trips over inside those 3 lines, and it goes right back on the shelf. No chemistry needed. You only have to count to 3. And one last tell, now that you know the language. If the front of a tub brags about a huge protein number, run your eye down the panel for whey protein concentrate sitting up near the top. Find it there, and that protein came from a scoop, not from a cow. The label already owned up to it. You only have to be willing to look. So who passed? 3 brands. And the twist is the same twist every time. The winner isn't the biggest name or the most expensive tub. It's the one hiding the least. The first that passed. Daisy. Flip it, and the entire ingredient list is 3 words. Cultured skim milk, cream, salt. That's the whole panel. No starch, no gums, no preservatives, nothing standing in for anything. Roughly 13 grams of protein, earned the only straight way there is. And here's the line worth hearing twice. Daisy tends to ring up near $3.50, routinely the lowest priced curd in the whole case. Sit with that. The most honest tub on the shelf is also among the cheapest ones on it. Every premium you've handed over on those other 6 bought you no quality at all. It bought marketing and thickeners. And Daisy is the rare one that's exactly what it looks like. A family company, independent, 5 generations deep since 1917, with no conglomerate behind it. If you change one thing after this video, change to this tub. The second that passed. Good culture. The front openly promises no gums, no carrageenan, no preservatives. And for once, the back keeps every word. Milk, cream, sea salt, and live active cultures. Around 14 grams of protein from real dairy, not powder. Now, I told you the panel is the only thing that matters, so let me be straight with you about the boardroom too. Good culture took investment years ago from General Mills' venture arm. A big food giant put money in. And here is exactly why that doesn't change the grade. You're buying the tub, and the tub is clean. If anything, it tells you where the smart money went, because even a conglomerate could see that the clean label was the whole moat. Buy it for what's in it. Just never let a familiar parent company talk you out of reading the back. The third that passed. Friendship Dairies. The quiet veteran, over 100 years old, and it somehow never got the memo to ruin the recipe. Flip it. Cultured non-fat milk, salt, and enzymes. No gums, no starch holding anything up. Some tubs reach 16 grams of protein, and they get there the old, patient way. And this one makes the point better than any of them, because Friendship is owned by Saputo, a global dairy company, one of the largest processors on the planet. Which proves the thing people always get wrong about all of this. Size was never the enemy. A worldwide giant kept this line honest while smaller names gummed theirs up. Ownership isn't the tell, the panel is the tell. Every single time. So here's everything you now know, in the 10 seconds it takes to stand in front of the case. You now know the front is the advertisement, and the back is the truth, and only the back is under oath. You now know the dressing is the gum and whey slurry poured over cheap curd to imitate cream. You now know maltodextrin is a cheap powdered starch filler, and modified food starch is cream stand-in, both there to rebuild a body the milk couldn't hold on its own. You now know whey protein concentrate is the powder that fakes the front of tub protein number, and that real curd never needs it. You now know the law itself permits the gums up to 0.8%, so the words cottage cheese on the front guarantee you nothing. And you now know the 3 checks. Tilt the tub and watch the whey, read the first 3 lines, and never trust a big protein number sitting right above whey protein concentrate. Their whole model was built on one quiet bet, that you'd keep reading the front and never turn the tub over. That bet just stopped paying off. So do it tonight. Open the fridge, pick up the tub you already own, and read the first 3 ingredients out loud. You'll know in 3 seconds which side of this list you've been buying. Then tell me in the comments, did your brand, the one you dropped at the very start, make the skip list or the honest 3? I read every single one. And send this to the person in your life who's been proudly eating high-protein cottage cheese by the tub because they're paying cream prices for gum, and now you're the one holding the label that proves it.